These electoral bonds are meant for a political party to be in power in perpetuity, because the amount of money through these means, which quote unquote are legitimate, will empower that party through capital to influence everything. This is the most unconstitutional, undemocratic, unfair scheme that destroys the very basic structure of our constitution. Free and fair elections is the basic structure of our constitution. This scheme is neither free nor is it fair. It's not free because the industrialists cannot say no. It is not fair because in that process, the political party in power gets the maximum capital, and the capital it wants, not for elections, for other purposes. That's very dangerous. Incentivizing the use of banking channels. Of course, you will get this legitimate money through banking channels. In fact, that's the perfectly rational way of enriching yourself. Perfectly rational way. But that's not a justification for empowering yourself. I can understand if there was a correlation between this and the election process, in which you must disclose how much you have spent, where you have spent. But that cannot be, because it is the candidate who is fighting the election, not the political party. As far as persecuting the person who has been given the money by that party to an opposite party, they will be persecuted. But why will they be persecuted? Well, let me tell your lordships, just to tell your lordships what the reality is. A big industrialist who has enormous power will give it to all political parties. And the party of the center will never hold it against that industrialist. Because everybody is benefited. The system enjoys this money. Enormous capital to the party that is in the center, and small little donations to the others. And everybody knows about it. It's not a secret. So there'll be no retributions. That why did you give it to that party? Because you've also got the maximum. Why should there be a retribution? So this whole argument that no, there'll be a retribution, why have you given to that party? Supposing, Maharaj, I have got 100 crores. I get 100 crores, but the donation shows that he has given 500 crores. I know that 100 crores come to me, 400 crores have gone somewhere else. And if, Maharaj, for the 100 crores, the quid pro quo is 4, 5, 6 instances, Maharaj, then out of 400 crores, why should the retribution be more than just 4, 5, 6 instances? The same logic will apply. Same logic will apply. So why are you protecting those, Maharaj? And the most serious part, Maharaj, which I said earlier, that I will never be able to go to a court of law. What you are doing is giving a protection to corrupt transactions by not putting that information in the public domain, because I will never know. So, Maharaj, how do I move forward? Where do I go? I can't file an FIR because I don't know. I'll be subject to defamation. I can't go to court. I have, under 156(3), I'll have to go to, I'll have to give some data. I don't have the data. So what court order are we talking about? Don't shield the process of corruption itself by allowing this to go on. If you want to deal with corruption, the first thing to do is to quash this scheme. This is the surest way for political perpetuation. Then, Maharaj, the respondents argue that EBS is a matter of financial economic policy. It certainly is not. It deals with elections, nothing to do with financial policy. In fact, the EBS and amendments on which it is based changes the very ground rules of the electoral process. The very ground rules, which negates any presumption of constitutionality and on the contrary requires heightened judicial scrutiny. That's the answer to that question of financial and economic policy. Economic policy is a bearer bonds issue because that way you can bring black money into the economic system and pay tax on it. This has nothing to do with it. Two, he said, they argue that making the identity of donors an extension of secret ballot. The right to vote and donating of funds are distinct. The right to vote is secret ballot. Donation of funds cannot ever be secret. Three, he says, there is no uneven playing field. I will demonstrate it to yourself that the entire field is uneven. Four, they say the respondent has distinguished ADR and PUCL on the ground that the information sought for in those cases already existed and just needed to be disclosed. In this case, Maharaj, the only reason the information about the identity of donors is unknown in the present case is the structural design of the system. You have structured the scheme in such a way that it's unknown. So, Maharaj, I really don't want to say anything more. All I can say is, Maharaj, and Maharaj, what is the public interest that is being served here? I don't understand what the public interest is. Public interest not to know, not to disclose. And who are you protecting? For what purpose are you protecting these people? You are actually protecting yourself because you know who has donated. It is self-protection, self-preservation, self-perpetuity. How can the public interest in protecting the identity of donors outweigh the public interest in the public's right to know, to be free from corruption? So politics, Malads, as I said, it's impossible for us to get rid of free money, black money, Malads. No country in the world has got rid of it. Let's be clear on it. All your lordships can do is to tell the government, this is not the way forward. You want to deal with it in a way that is transparent, that gives us the confidence that it is not for you, it is for the larger public interest. I buy shares in a company. It may be listed, it may not be listed.
Well, just one caveat, Mr. Sibal, which is that we are not here on the challenge to the legality of a law providing for corporate donations per se. Yes. That wider issue is not before
No, I agree. But
for the reason that's what Justice Chagla flagged, Chief Justice Chagla flagged even in 1958. He said there should be no corporate donation, but we are not really dealing with that. So
I'm not on that.
Really into that area at all, because 293 anyway allowed.
Well, I'm not on that. So, I'm on a wider on
what you said in the latter part of your formulation, without the consultation and the approval of the shareholders.
That's the point. Yes. That's the point. That's why I said.
Otherwise, the broader philosophical perspective that allowing corporate donations is really permitting some form of quid pro quo.
No, Malad, I'm not on that because my learned friend
we needn't go in that broad area here, because in that sense, the moment we accepted 293, our society legitimized corporate quid pro quo.
Malad, Malad,
but there is an element of quid pro quo the moment you have corporate
exactly, Malad. There is no doubt about it.
I mean,
that's why
a large public limited company who makes a donation doesn't give it for charity.
Exactly.
Or for
that's why I said capital and influence are Siamese twins, Malad.
So we shouldn't really in that.
I'm not going there, Malad. I'm not. That's why I said that what you're doing in this process is that you are allowing through the electoral bond process to not inform the shareholder as to how his money is going to be spent. Right? And that's a very serious issue because he is invested in the company not for the purposes of donating to X and Y. That's the third concept. The fourth is even more important. This is nothing to do with the electoral bonds, if you ask me. It is donation to a political party to use the funds as they like. The nomenclature suggests electoral bonds means this is for the purposes of the election. There is nothing in the scheme. There is nothing in the scheme which connects the donation made to the participation in the electoral process. Nothing. It is a means for political parties to be enriched. Why do I say that, Manoj? I make a donation of 10 crores to a political party through an electoral bond. The political party opens a current account and 10 crores goes into that account. Now that political party can actually give that money to the mainstream media channel and say, you propagate my ideology. Or give a present to somebody. Or do what you want to do with it.
There are no spending requirements.
None, zero. That's the most serious issue. Because you can spend this money any way you like. You can build your offices. You can build your offices all over the country with that money. You can set up a whole network throughout the country with that money. You can use advertising campaign for whatever you like with that money. Show your face 20 times a day. And see the nexus. The corporate sector gives money to the political party. The political party and the corporate sector owns a media house. And just look at the nexus. The corporate donor owns the media house. The corporate donor gives it to the political party. The political party uses the media house. No questions asked.
What are you hinting at, Mr.?
I'm sorry?
What are you hinting at?
You close the account, that's the end of the matter.
You get the money, close the account, but
that's it, and then you spend it the way you want. Well, this is not a scheme for I can understand Well, quite frankly, I can understand the corporate sector being told that we impose a cess like education cess. You impose a cess on the corporate functioning of companies. With that cess, you have a capital, and capital you distribute in accordance with the representation in the Lok Sabha. So everybody has the same amount, and the same money can be used for that. What you are doing now is entirely different. You are saying you give me as much money as you want to give me. That Aziz argued, Mullah, that
So your submission is this is not money for electoral participation, but money for
enriching the
political party,
Yes.
individual party.
It's just enriching the party.
There are no spending requirements.
No
There's no
whatsoever.
auditing
No-
requirement as to how the
no
money is
accountability.
utilized. Nothing.
No accountability. Absolutely no accountability.
What's the next point?
The last point, the fifth point, is that in fact it protects the nature of the scheme protects those who have committed a crime. I'll give you an example. Under the Prevention of Corruption Act, Section 7 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, you give money to a public servant, members of parliament are public servants. Many members of the political party who are in the fray are public servants. Now, as your lordship knows, under Section 7, you can also prosecute a person in anticipation of a favor, not just having granted a favor. So you give a donation, no questions asked, you get a favor, you cannot correlate one with the other, and I can't prosecute.